Everyone is rushing to crown the Indiana Fever as the next super team in the WNBA, but in all that hype, they're overlooking what could become a serious pressure point beneath the surface. What happens when the most sensitive, tightly controlled conversations inside locker rooms don't stay hidden anymore? The polished PR image built around this moment was never meant to last forever, and when it begins to crack, it could expose a reality that many around the league have quietly avoided addressing. Welcome back to Court Central, where the focus isn't on safe, surface-level takes, but on deeper, more honest basketball analysis. For the past 18 months, a consistent narrative has been pushed by established voices across the league and traditional media, framing sold-out arenas, improved travel like charter flights, and major broadcast deals as a natural evolution of the sport. The message was repeated everywhere that the game was always at this level and audiences were simply catching up. But anyone with even a basic understanding of sports economics could see that explanation didn't fully hold up. For years, the foundation of the league remained steady, yet something recently accelerated its visibility in a way that feels fundamentally different. Now that long-standing narrative is being challenged more openly, especially as players like Myisha Hines-Allen and Monique Billings have spoken more candidly about the current moment, adding fuel to a conversation that many sensed but rarely heard acknowledged directly. In a league where younger players are typically expected to respect hierarchy, praise those who came before them, and avoid disrupting the established narrative, that kind of openness stands out. Credit is usually shared and carefully balanced, not centered around one figure, but that dynamic is starting to shift, and at the center of that shift is Caitlin Clark. Whether people agree or not, her arrival has undeniably changed the level of attention surrounding the league, turning the conversation from general growth to what specifically triggered that surge. And that's where things become complicated, because acknowledging a single catalyst challenges years of messaging built around collective progress. The conversation is no longer hypothetical, it's happening in real time, and the real question now is how the league, its players, and the media choose to handle it moving forward.
And all of this stuff that's going on right now for us in the W, it wouldn't happen because of her, so just grateful for her, excited for her to be back and just back on the court with us, so y'all gonna see more Caitlin Clark basketball this season.
Yeah, you hear that? All this stuff that's going on, it's because of her. It's because of her.
Listen to the conviction in her voice during that media session. Myisha Hines-Allen didn't hesitate or soften her words. She made it clear that this booming era of the WNBA wouldn't look the same without Caitlin Clark. She acknowledged Clark's shooting ability and overall presence, but more importantly, she directly connected her impact to the league's growing attention and financial momentum. When you view that statement through the lens of the upcoming collective bargaining discussions, it becomes even more significant. Players are actively pushing for higher salaries, better revenue sharing, and improved benefits, and the core debate centers around where this new wave of growth is truly coming from. While many veteran voices frame it as a collective rise, statements like this shift the conversation toward identifying a more specific catalyst, which can impact negotiation dynamics in a major way. At the same time, speaking this openly, especially in a league with strong veteran hierarchy, comes with risks, because there has always been an unspoken expectation to maintain a unified narrative. Breaking from that naturally draws attention and can create tension, but for many fans, that honesty feels closer to reality given the current surge in visibility and engagement. That conversation also ties directly into roster construction, where the Indiana Fever made a key move by bringing in Monique Billings, a player who fits the exact profile analysts believed was needed: experienced, team-oriented, and capable of complementing a high-usage star without disrupting chemistry. Her presence reflects a strategic approach, focusing not just on talent but on balance, cohesion, and long-term sustainability as the team builds around its core.
Two of the main guards on this team, so being able to play with them, build that chemistry, that synergy, and have good results with both of them definitely helped me in my free agency process.
You heard it. You heard it. She got to play with not only with Kelsey Mitchell and Unrivaled, she played with the GOAT Caitlin Clark with Team USA, and there was synergy there. We saw it on full display. Monique Billings.
When reporters asked Monique Billings about her highly scrutinized free agency decision and why she ultimately chose the Indiana Fever, she didn't fall back on the usual safe, diplomatic answers that often define these moments. Instead, she pointed directly to her experience playing alongside Kelsey Mitchell and, even more importantly, her time sharing the floor with Caitlin Clark on Team USA. Billings openly admitted that the immediate offensive chemistry and natural synergy she felt with Clark made her decision incredibly easy. That statement carries real weight. This is a respected veteran choosing her destination based on firsthand experience of how effective it is to play next to an elite offensive engine. During that time together, she saw up close what it's like to operate with a point guard who processes the court at an extremely fast pace, delivering passes through tight windows and creating opportunities others might not even see. That dynamic was a clear challenge for some players last season, where timing, anticipation, and rhythm didn't always align. But Billings made it clear that she's comfortable in that environment, she understands the pace, anticipates the reads, and is ready to thrive within that system. That alone challenges the narrative that established players are hesitant to play alongside a high-usage, high-visibility star, because in reality, players who value efficiency, flow, and winning often recognize the benefits of that kind of playmaking. And beyond the headline takeaway, her comments hinted at something even more important on a tactical level: subtle details about spacing, timing, and physical play that could significantly impact how this team functions, especially in areas like screening and off-ball movement, which often go underappreciated but are essential to unlocking a high-level offense.
Early impressions of Steph. And I know you worked with her at Team USA.
Yes,
so,
I would say Steph's a firecracker. I love her energy. I love how she's just passionate. I love playing for a passionate coach. Obviously, she played the game before, so I feed off of that. I could tell just by the way.
During her press conference, Monique Billings enthusiastically described Stephanie White as a firecracker, highlighting her relentless energy, emotional intensity, and passion for the game. On the surface, bringing in a highly respected, defense-first coach like White appears to be the perfect evolution for the Indiana Fever, especially when you consider how badly they struggled on the defensive end last season, bleeding points in transition, missing weak-side rotations, and lacking consistent structure. White's previous success with the Connecticut Sun proved that she can build a disciplined, physical, and highly accountable defensive system, one that forces opponents into uncomfortable situations and establishes a clear team identity. She understands rotations, communication, and how to demand effort on every possession. But once you move past that surface-level optimism, a much deeper and more complex question begins to emerge. Coaching a fundamentally sound, defense-first roster is one thing. Managing a generational offensive force like Caitlin Clark is something entirely different. White's coaching philosophy has historically leaned towards structure, control, and predictability, especially on the offensive side, where she prefers organized half-court sets and clearly defined roles. Clark, on the other hand, thrives in chaos in high-speed, read-and-react situations where instinct, vision, and creativity dictate the flow of the game. She doesn't just operate within a system, she often becomes the system itself, bending defensive schemes with her range, passing angles, and tempo. That contrast creates a natural and unavoidable friction point between structure and freedom, and that friction becomes even more critical in high-pressure moments. When defenses tighten in late-game situations or playoff environments, throwing complex coverages, traps, or unconventional schemes, the question is no longer about preparation. It's about adaptability. Does the coaching staff lean into structure and try to control every possession, or do they trust the instinct and decision-making of their superstar to solve problems in real time? Because history has shown that when coaches try to over-control players of that caliber, it can limit their effectiveness. At the same time, completely abandoning structure isn't the answer either. The balance between discipline and freedom is incredibly delicate, and getting it wrong can create internal tension that shows up on the court. That's what makes this situation so fascinating. The biggest challenge for Stephanie White this season isn't just building a stronger defense, it's managing that philosophical balance without disrupting what makes Clark special. The team needs defensive structure, especially in non-Clark minutes, but offensively, they also need spacing, rhythm, and the freedom for Clark to operate at her natural pace. Players like Monique Billings, with her physicality and ability to impact the game without needing the ball, can play a key role in supporting that balance, particularly through screening, movement, and defensive versatility. If White can adapt, if she can maintain her defensive identity while allowing offensive flexibility, the Fever could evolve into one of the most complete teams in the WNBA. But if the system becomes too rigid, if the pace is slowed or creativity is restricted, it risks creating a disconnect between coaching philosophy and player strengths. Ultimately, this season may not just be about wins and losses, it may be about whether structure and instinct can truly coexist at the highest level.